Helen Keller once said, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight and no vision." My vision is that one day we will ultimately cure age-related macular degeneration. The thing that happens in AMD is that the macula starts to die. And the macula is a part of the eye that's the central part of the retina. And so if you will, please join me and close your left eye, make a tight fist, and bring your fist up to your right eye so you see just a little halo of light. I bet you can imagine me very frustrated trying to go about your daily activities with this kind of vision. But what you're actually seeing is the vision of someone with late-stage AMD. In the United States alone, there are 2 million people with late-stage AMD and an additional 7 million with early-stage AMD. Unfortunately, once the macula has died, it's too late for patients to regain their lost vision, because right now there is no treatment available to replace the cells that died in their retina. But what cells die in AMD? Well, recent evidence from the University of Iowa shows that the blood vessels behind the retina are actually the first that die off in AMD. The cell types that make up those blood vessels are called choroidal endothelial cells, and they're critical to the retina's health because they nourish the retina. So I'm sure you can imagine that once those cells die in AMD progression, the other two cell types of the outer retina, called the photoreceptors, which you guys probably know as the rods and cones, and the retinal pigment epithelium, which maintain those rods and cones, those die off as well. So what can we as researchers do to help AMD patients regain their lost vision? Well, that's where my research comes into play. When I joined the Tucker Stem Cell Lab here at U Iowa, researchers in the field were already figuring out how to use patient stem cells to make healthy photoreceptors and retinal pigment epithelium in hopes to one day rebuild retinas for patients. But no one had been able to make stem cell-derived choroidal endothelial cells, those cells that make up those blood vessels that die off first in AMD. So to solve this problem, I took patients' skin cells and did something called cellular reprogramming, in which I made a patient's skin cells into their own stem cells. I then sifted through over 200 proteins to feed these stem cells to see if I could get them to become these choroidal endothelial cells to make that vasculature behind the retina. What I found was that there are two specific proteins that drove the stem cells to develop into the choroidal endothelial cell vasculature, the same cells you see on the screen. This method is the first of its kind in the eye research field. And now, by using this method, we can finally make all three cell types that die in AMD. And now we can start focusing on rebuilding patient retinas and restoring vision to those who thought they would never see again. So, like Helen Keller, I too believe in a vision, and sight is my vision. Thank you.